I do want to talk about a little movie that I was able to catch up with.
Ooh.
So back, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago? I'm not even sure when it came out. There was a little film with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. It's called The Drama. I think most of you have heard of it. I'd say most of you listening to this have probably seen the film already. But for whatever reason, I don't even recall the exact details, but I missed it when the film came out earlier in the year. I was not able to see it, but I have finally caught up with said drama. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it here once again.
You can participate in the discourse finally.
Yes. Before I give my thoughts on it. So Megan, you and Shadan, I believe, did the review here on the show. So give us your brief 2-3 sentences synopsis, your summary of your thoughts on the drama.
So this is a really hard one to give a summary.
It is, that's also fair.
Yeah, because one, I'm verbose, but two, both Shadan and I had very complicated, conflicting reactions to this movie, where we thought a lot of it was very technically well done, in that the editing was really sharp, it was well acted, and it's very stylized, which works for some and doesn't or might not work for others. But we had issues with the writing and the plot of the story and where it went and the issues. It raises some really intriguing issues, but it also does so in really arguably insensitive ways, or maybe not as deeply. It raises these issues, but doesn't really maybe delve into them as deeply as it could. And so we both had kind of complicated reactions to it. And so for me, I kind of felt in this weird nebulous space where I was like, it's really technically well done. It's a well-crafted movie in many ways. But for me, the writing fell short because of not getting into these issues maybe the way it could have. So,
yeah. So I'm not too far off from you, actually.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie. In a lot of ways, I'm still processing the film, trying to figure it out. But the one thing that is pretty crystal clear to me is that the film is way more interested in the conversation than it is being a movie.
Yes, and agreed.
Admittedly, and to your point, and you and Shadan did discuss it quite thoroughly, I thought, it is a fascinating conversation with a lot of complexity. It is really intriguing, the thought-provoking questions it raises. The problem is that the film tries to have its cake and eat it too by turning the conversation into a film. And as a result, I do think that both the movie and the conversation come off a bit vacuous.
Yeah.
There's a scene near the end of the film when Robert Pattinson's Charlie character is asked, well, why didn't she go through with it? And his response is befuddlement. I don't know, he says, as he throws his hands up in the air, even though he had discussed it with Emma plenty prior to that moment and being asked that question. And I thought it was the perfect summation of how thinly veiled the conversation became, despite it being the main focus. And I don't know how that happened. Like, it is a testament to, I don't want to say incompetence, but perhaps not being able to channel its themes in a way that feels full and rich and explored. Somehow the film, despite the conversation being the main thing, by trying to funnel it through a dramatic script, it loses so much of its substance. And what we see is a bunch of scenes that are super awkward and they don't carry much weight because the film it's trying to turn a podcast conversation into a script. That's what it felt like to me. Like someone had a conversation about this on a podcast, and they took the transcript from that podcast and threw it in the Chat GPT and said, "Hey, turn this into a screenplay." And this is what we got. Now, I'm being a bit facetious. I don't want to be that harsh, but that's kind of what it feels like. Yeah. It's like, how do we turn this podcast into an actual dramatic movie? And it struggles mightily to be both as a result. And that is I'm sure there's a way to bridge those two gaps. I don't know what the answer is exactly, but the way that it's handled in the film, I don't think is the right way. At least for me, it did not work for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had time to think about this and ponder it a bit more. And I think the big problem that you're talking about, I think I don't want to say the only way to fix it, but I think one of the ways it could have been fixed is to treat your characters like actual fully fleshed out characters with nuance and complexity rather than plot devices, just so you can have quippy commentary on the horrific state of gun violence in the US, which I'm all for. I'm all for that conversation. It's necessary, but this is not the way to do it. And where if you had these complicated characters who were fleshed out people and better written, it could have worked more.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to bring up that moment with Charlie, because to your point, as far as how it's just using these characters as pawns to pseudo funnel that conversation into these scenes, but not really doing anything with it. No, there were scenes earlier when Charlie and Emma do talk about her past. That happens several times. How on earth does he not come to any sort of conclusion as to why she would have those thoughts? Whether he agrees with them or not is irrelevant. At the very least, she conveyed, I thought quite cogently anyway, as far as why she had those thoughts. And so you get toward the third act of the movie and he's just befuddled. I don't know. Well, what was the point of those scenes earlier in the film then? Like, instead of just carrying the conversation on, Charlie just becomes a muddled, overly replicated, like there's no evolution to that character. Like, he's just one mechanism after another to have conversations about gun violence instead of there being a progression throughout the film, like as characters.
Right.
It'd be one thing if Charlie heard and understood Emma, and I guess you could argue there's a version of that here where he's trying to come to terms with it. But it feels more like a plot machination versus organic storytelling to me.
Absolutely.
And I was bewildered by it. You can see the seams everywhere in the film. And it was pretty disappointing because I love Zendaya. I love Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, they're both great.
And again, I think the conversation is fascinating too.
Yes.
As far as who Emma is and her background, the experiences that she went through. I mean, all of that is shown in the film. And I do appreciate that it's not just telling us these things.
Right.
Although Zendaya's great enough of a performer that she could have filled in those gaps performatively if the film allowed that to happen. But given the structure of this film, that was never going to happen.
No.
So I'm at least grateful that it shows us these things. There is some visual storytelling here that I do think is interesting. But all of that just feels like a dramatic bomb just to have these awkward exchanges between characters. And it never goes anywhere.
No. And it also could have been really interesting to pose the question, or it is arguably interesting that the film poses the question, like, what do you do when you find out something horrific about someone that you're committing to, someone that you love? Like, how do you reconcile that? I think that is a great jumping off point. It's a great premise. But again, to your point, and something that Shadon and I talked about, is it doesn't do anything with it, which is just, it's so frustrating and annoying.
Which is why I go back to it feeling like a podcast conversation, because it feels like two people were sitting down having a conversation, and I said, Megan, how would you react if your partner exposed this about their past? What would you do? And like, because that's how it comes off. And there's no movie there.
No.
Like it's just a conversation to be had. And sometimes there's just very little nuance to it. Like the friend characters where all of this originated, I can't recall the characters' names off the top of my head, but they don't even care to understand Emma. They like just, no, we forget it. And I guess to be fair, maybe like there's an understanding to that, especially given the family reveal.
Yes.
Of, again, I'm not sure the character's name there, but at the same time, I do think there is nuance from Emma's perspective. And I wish they would have maybe focused more on that to really dig beneath the indignancy, or I don't know if that's the right word, but certainly the complications of Emma this past, because there is an interesting conversation. In fact, I do think at one point Charlie even poses the question, again, going back to us having a podcast here, Megan, if you had this dark past but you wanted to change to become a better person, like, is that okay?
Right.
That's I'm sure not just in podcast, in real life, I'm sure people are having those conversations all the time. Yeah. Especially if you funnel it through a religious perspective. Is that not the whole idea? That people can be redeemed, that people can change? Not that this film goes there, but generally speaking, I do think that is a thought-provoking question, especially when you look at the context of Emma and what she experiences. There is a change of heart. There's something that happens where she realizes but the perhaps disturbing ramifications that come about, and she veers in a different path. Is that not what we try to teach ourselves as far as redemption goes? Becoming a better person and showing empathy and compassion and fighting for the right things. Like, there's a lot of that with Emma here, and the film just refuses to engage with it. It just brings it all up as a talking point.
Yep. Yeah, and it doesn't, because as you're talking about it, you're absolutely right. About redemption and forgiveness and transformation and all of that. But I'm thinking at the same time, it's very fair that if you are in a relationship with someone, and relationship, I mean friendship as well, if you have a relationship with someone in some way and there is something so truly repugnant and abhorrent that they have done that you just can't bridge that chasm, that's okay to walk away. That's okay to set a boundary and be like, I can't be in a friendship with you or a relationship with you. But you're right. But this film doesn't engage with that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I was about to say that would have been nice if that was in the movie.
Right.
You just said.
Thank you. I think so too.
Yeah. Like, where was that? Like,
right.
I mean, right. I guess it's inferred. I should probably find the character's name because I don't have it in front of me. Let me look it up. The Alana Haim character of Rachel. That's what I'm thinking of here. She has a cousin that is affected by gun violence, so she just she recoils at the idea.
Right. But
so if she drew a line in the sand, that'd be one thing. But the film doesn't. Like, I guess it kind of infers that, but it's all vague. I don't know if the film earns that ambiguity.
Right. It's not in the name of subtlety that it's doing that, where it doesn't want to hold your hand or spell it all out. It's more like, oh, isn't this funny? Or isn't this weird? Isn't this awkward? And it's like, what? No.
And she's supposed to be the maid of honor, I believe.
Yeah, she is. Mm-hmm.
So why is there not a scene? There's not really a confrontation there. She makes a phone call. We don't even hear the phone call.
Yeah.
It just jumps to another scene where Rachel and Charlie are having a conversation about the phone call.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
That whole scene is like ratcheting up because you're expecting an awkward confrontation, which never happens. But again, I think it's just to be awkward. I think that's this film's whole goal is to just be awkward.
It just wants to have these awkward moments. That's
yes. And that's it. Just let's torture these characters. Let's put them in these awkward scenarios. And isn't that funny? Isn't that weird?
Yeah. And I don't find it funny or weird because these characters mean nothing to me. They're just empty vessels.
Exactly.
So I it's such a weird movie. I don't
Right?
I didn't particularly enjoy. Yeah. So anyway, that's the drama.